Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank where I climb the online Series 7 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we are trying out a team that was able to get number 1 on the ladder just a couple of days ago. It was built by a player called Zeen, and you may recognize Zeen because we've actually featured a couple of his teams on the channel before. I've linked his Twitter in the description below as well as his YouTube channel, and he is a phenomenal player over from Japan. This team has a bunch of cool stuff, a bunch of things that we haven't really featured on the channel yet, including Regieleki, Witch Specs, and Assault Vest Kartana. Both of these are, relatively standard Pokemon in the format right now, but Specs Regieleki isn't as common as, say, Light Clay is, and it's a very fast-paced offensive team, right? Regieleki is able to get a lot of speed control, especially from Electro Web, and that actually does a sizable amount of damage with Choice Specs and Transistor, but you also just have these really fast offensive Pokemon like Kartana, Urshifu, and Dragapult. The team has Clefairy, which is really helpful because of both Friend Guard and Helping Hand support, and to round out the team, there's also a Citrus Berry Calm Mind, Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini being one of the staples of the format right now. Everyone really likes using it. So I'm excited to feature the team. I think, I really like fast-paced offensive teams, and I think this team can just really overwhelm opponents right from the first couple of turns of the game, so excited to give it a try. As you can see, it's a rental, so feel free to try it out yourselves. Code is on the screen as well as in the description below, and thank you as always for watching Road to Rank. If you enjoyed, please share support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. Question of the day, I want to know what your favorite electric type Pokemon is with us trying out Regieleki. Let me know down in the comments below. But without further ado, let's just get started. I also think looking at this team, I'm not super surprised Zeen was able to get to number 1 on the ladder with it because there are a lot of cool things that are great for best of 1 specifically. So as you see, the Dragapult has 4 attacks, doesn't have Protect, doesn't have Dragon Dance. Most players often expect it to have Protect, right? So when they're playing against a Dragapult, you'll assume that it's going to go for a Protect when you're trying to launch a super effective attack into it. So this Dragapult capitalizes by just doing as much damage off as possible, and with the Fire-type attack, you also are able to just one-shot Dynamax Kartana, which is really, really nice. It gives you a little bit coverage against other things, but it's namely there for Kartana. But you also have, Protect, Helping Hand on the Clefairy. Those aren't really super surprising, but Helping Hand plus these really powerful Pokemon can just snowball, KOs turn after turn after turn. And I think when people see Regieleki, they typically assume nowadays that it's going to be something like Light Clay and expect it to be like a bulkier set that's more setup oriented. So a Choice Spec set can really just come out and, just get a ton of damage while your opponent's not expecting it. Regieleki is a really big threat. I mean, obviously, it only is using electric type attacks primarily. This one actually has Hyper Beam, so you're able to, get some normal type coverage. Another cool thing about Hyper Beam is there is a world in which you could Dynamax Regieleki and then Max Strike to get natural speed control for the rest of your team. So that's something that exists as well. But yeah. And speaking about Regieleki, we are going up against a opposing Regieleki here. There's Tornadus, Metagross. That may be a problem because I think Tailwind is probably the move from my opponent's end here. So I think Tailwind is the move. What do I want to go with? Perhaps it's Clefairy. Because with Clefairy, I could protect Phantasm turn 1. I think Urshifu is a must-bring here just because I think my opponent's Metagross is going to be the biggest threat. And it's probably Kartana for the last one. Fini's not bad here, but it's hard to imagine it really being able to get set up. Regieleki is honestly very good here. But my opponent's always going to be faster, and that just makes Regieleki substantially worse in my opinion. I guess Kartana doesn't really do much damage here either. It's not like we have a Night Slash to hit the Metagross. We do have super effective coverage against the rest, namely the Fini. You know what? Let's bring the Regieleki. Let's give it a shot. I think especially if my opponent does not go with the Tailwind route, then Regieleki will really be able to put in a lot of work. But I think if I'm my opponent, given how similar our teams are, they should always try to set up Tailwind with Tornadus, and then, use the rest of the Pokemon to sweep. So from what I'm expecting from my opponents, then it's probably Tornadus, Metagross with maybe the... actually, any of the bottom 4 Pokemon are pretty good. Like, Urshifu and Fini are just some of the best flex Pokemon right now. You can throw them onto pretty much any team, and that's a testament to just how good they are in the format. It is Tornadus Metagross, though. Okay, so that was what we were expecting. I mean, still scary, but I think I am going to go for what my game plan was turn 1, which is protect the Clef. Wait, I have Helping Hand. I don't think that one-shots Metagross, though, right? I don't know that damage calc. Also, my opponent could just Tailwind Steel Spike Clefairy turn 1. I'm down to Protect, Dynamax, and Phantasm. into a Helping Hand Phantasm turn 2, I think. If I'm my opponent, I think the best play is to Tailwind Steel Spike into Clefairy. That covers all your options, pretty much. But did I have a better lead to lead into this? Like, I don't really think so. Kartana doesn't do anything. Regieleki doesn't really do that. I mean, it gets some good damage off, I guess, but it's certainly not going to pick up a KO. I guess one other thing I'm curious about is my opponent's Metagross fast enough to outspeed Regieleki under Tailwind? Because if it's not, then I can just, bring in Regieleki and then just, finish it off with a Volt Switch. That'd be kind of cool. So, the thing is that I think Dragapult very rarely faints here unless my opponent goes for the super hard read of Brutal Swing Hailstorm into Dragapult. But even if you go for that, I can bring in the Urshifu then and just go for Follow Me. And then there's mind games on whether Metagross protects or not on turn 2. But I think Metagross is going to max here. Yep. And I think if you're my opponent, Tailwind is always a pretty safe play here. So I don't think Helping Hand Phantasm one-shots Metagross. Plus, in this scenario, it's likely my opponent goes for a Steel Spike onto Clef anyway. So it's you would get the defense boost beforehand. Unless your Metagross is really slow for some reason and does not speed Dragapult under Tailwind, but I feel like that's a pretty important benchmark to hit. So, Protect is kind of obvious here, so it doesn't feel great, but I still think it's the best play. It looks like it is going to be Tailwind. No surprise there. Let's see. Yep, there's Steel Spike. Yep, into Clef. Okay. I mean, that played out how we expected it to, so I'll take it. I very likely will be activating a weakness policy here, which is pretty bad, especially because it has the defense boost, but I don't know what else we could really have done in this. But, actually, maybe we could have led Clef Urshifu. Oh my goodness, that is bulky. That's a problem. Yeah, I mean, so Helping Hand was definitely not KO. I guess Helping Hand Phantasm pre-defense boost. Maybe that can do enough. Protect is super obvious here. I can't really switch out here. I'm down to just... Yeah, I think Helping Hand and just Phantasm here is maybe okay. Especially if my opponent does go for the KO onto the Clef. You could always Steel Spike into the Dragapult instead, but then with Friend Guard being up, I actually don't think you KO, so it wouldn't be that bad. But obviously part of the problem right now is that Tailwind is up from my opponent's end. I'm willing to bet Regieleki. Well, actually, I don't know. Regieleki being base 200 just throws everything off a little bit because, a lot of these Pokemon that we're using were viable in previous years of VGC, but now Regieleki changes the dynamic a little bit, being in a completely different speed tier that we're not used to. Huh, they still went for Brutal Swing. Okay. Well, their policy was activated, so I don't think they needed to go for that. It's just another Steel Spike onto Pult. I think we survived that. Yeah. Honestly, them going for Brutal Swing may have just helped us more. Because, you just did damage to your Metagross, right? And my Helping Hand essentially negates the one defense boost. I mean, you have 2 right now, but I think this is my KO. Okay. Maybe they forgot their weakness policy was activated. We got a crit there. I think with the Helping Hand, we would have done enough to KO because, that first Phantasm did just under 50%. We had Helping Hand this turn. They had an extra defense boost, but those are essentially negated. So I'll take it. That's obviously a very favorable turn for us as it gives us one more turn of Dynamax and stalls out their Tailwind a little bit. Metagross obviously being the main threat on their team. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Tapu Fini coming out right now, but yeah, that's really good for us, right? Okay, they bring out Regieleki. That's actually a very solid Pokemon to bring out. Regieleki. I don't know if Brutal Swing KOs here. I don't remember how. I mean, you could just Brutal Swing E-Web. I kind of want a Dazzling Gleam and Protect, to be honest. Oh, wait, I don't have Protect. That's one of the things about this Dragapult, right? Okay. So, here's what I think we do, then. We want to conserve Friend Guard, so why don't I just Protect here? I'll sack the Dragapult, and we can go for a... I mean, I doubt we get it off, but I'm down to Phantasm into Regieleki. Sack, so then I get the free switch into my Regieleki, and then I could just click Electro Web. That's pretty good. Okay, yep, they click Electro Web here. There is a world in which my opponent did not click Brutal Swing, and we survived, but that's enough to pick up the KO. Okay. Well, that's fine. That was pretty much expected there, and if I attack with Clef, I don't know if I survive the turn. Yeah, they go for Hurricane. Hurricane's interesting because obviously it does more damage, but it's not as consistent of an option. So I think we go on into Regieleki here. Yeah, I think one of the questions I have right now is, what is your item? I kind of want a Dazzling Gleam and Electro Web here because I don't think going for something like Helping Hand accomplishes anything right now. There is a chance in which, like in order for my opponent to KO the Clefairy, they would actually need to hit a Hurricane, and they would need a Hurricane into that slot. Granted, I think you probably just Hurricane Electro Web, but if Clefairy survives the turn, then we break a potential Focus Sash on Tornadus, which means we would just pick up a double KO. Or sorry, not double KO, just KO onto that. I don't even know if Hurricane one-shots us here, but it probably does. So let's see if they hit it. Because with Tornadus, you normally just go like max. Oh, and they miss. Yeah, I mean, that's why. Oh, we miss in return, though. Oh, no, we don't. They're Wakandberry. Oh, that's actually really interesting. That would have been a reason to go for Helping Hand. Well, no, even with Helping Hand, it wouldn't have KO'd then. I feel like when I see Tornadus, I normally just assume Focus Sash. That was a really lucky dodge on our end, though, with Clefairy. So we're actually going to get some nice damage off here with the Dazzling Gleam. Yeah, puts both under 50. Their Tailwind peters out, so I think Tornadus is always going for a Tailwind here. But the problem is that actually a problem? Because I can just protect. One of the main questions I also have is, what is my opponent's last Pokemon? Is it something like... Because what do I have? I have Urshifu, which is good, because having a Sash against Tailwind is always valuable. I think the safest play here is to protect. My opponent's always Tailwinding Electro Webbing, though. Maybe they Thunderbolt or Volt Switch into Clefairy. So I'm content just going for Protect Electro Web here. It also conserves our Friend Guard for another turn. I didn't expect the Wakandberry, though. Yeah, so they Tailwind. That was a problem. We maybe needed to knock out Tornadus faster, but with Metagross being so scary, don't think I could have afforded that. Okay, so they get the webs off. We're down to 76. What's the last one going to be? That's my main question. Also, I don't even think we KO the Regieleki here with Electro Web, but we'll KO the Tornadus, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Ooh, so close, though. So close. Okay, so now it's a 3v2, but I protected last turn. I'm also at multiple stages of decreased special or speed with Regieleki. It's going to be Urshifu. Urshifu. Okay. Now that's interesting. Because if you have Urshifu out, I kind of want to just double attack here. They keep going with Electro Web, so that makes me think they're not Thunderbolting here. I could switch out, right? But with Tailwind being up, I think it's better to just click Electro Web and Dazzling Gleam here. With double spread, if I get an either attack off, I win. So I lose here if the Regieleki indeed does have a better attack than the Electro Web, and they just target Clefairy here. Because then you can just pick up a double KO. If my opponent does have that, what was my play? I could switch out into Urshifu, so then I could Sucker Punch. Okay, they go for Wicked Blow. Oh, wait. Electro Web is single target now, if they go for that. I didn't think about that. I don't know if we survived this. Oh, Clefairy is so clutch. This Pokemon is so good. We get the Dazzle off. Yeah, I mean, obviously the Hurricane miss was a big deal. I don't know if it would have picked up the KO, but I think if my opponent hits that, they're in a really good spot. So that's the tough thing about the risk versus reward for Tornadus. Like, Air Slash is more consistent, but does substantially less damage. Hurricane, you know, you're going to hit less frequently, but you just do so much more. Yeah, this I thought was kind of a tricky matchup. Regieleki's Electro Webs were really good for us in the end, so I'm happy about that. Clefairy needed to hang on there in the end, and fortunately enough, it was able to. I'm curious on what set my opponent was on that Regieleki. Part of me wants to say maybe they're Specs, but I'm still learning Specs Regieleki damage outputs. I don't know. But, yeah. I think this Regieleki actually probably should outspeed the opposing Metagross, even under Tailwind. So maybe I could have tried to play towards that win condition. I don't know. I feel like the Tornadus Metagross combo was just really scary. I do think that if my opponent didn't go for Brutal Swing, they should hang on with the Metagross on turn 2. So, yeah. Let's see how fast they were. 112. I gotta double check our Regieleki's speed here. Yeah, so it's Tailwind, Icy Wind, Brutal Swing, Hurricane. No taunt, which is interesting. Classic lefties, Fini. They were Specs Regieleki, okay. So that's what I thought. And Sash Urshifu, Citrus Incin. I think Tailwind's probably one of the scariest things to go up against for this team, because this team normally wants to win by overwhelming your opponent with offense in the early game. We also got that crit down to Metagross, and I think, like, based off the amount of damage we did at turn 1, like, after the Brutal Swing, I don't think it probably makes too much of a difference, but maybe it did. But I don't think my opponent needed a Brutal Swing there, to be honest, because, like, we're not really getting much damage off there. Like, if you want super effective damage, you can just go for Icy Wind, but maybe they forgot the policy was activated. That's happened to me multiple times before. Okay. No Tailwind this time around. That's good. I'm just double-checking Regieleki's speed. Oh, yeah. This is very speedy. So, we would have outsped Metagross. And so, that's actually really good to know, because that can change how we play and approach the matchups. Honestly, what I want to do in this matchup, I think is probably just, like, get boosted up and, like, get an Airstream off, use Clefairy to protect the Dragapult, and then sweep through in the late game. The question is what I want to sweep through them in the late game with. I like Urshifu. I don't know, I mean, Regieleki does pretty good damage here into Fini, Zapdos. Yeah, let's bring it. The thing is, with the Pokemon that I'm bringing, it's very anti-Kartana. And I think if you look at this matchup on paper, it actually kind of invites the Kartana to come in. That's why I really like the Fire-type tech on the Dragapult. But Urshifu is really good here. I think I always want to bring that just because of how fast-paced and offensive it is. And just the Sucker Punch into a Dragapult's really big as well, right? Because I think Dragapult's probably the scariest Dynamax threat from the opposing end. But I think that last game was an example of a matchup where I think is not very heavily favored towards us, so we need to play well and maybe get a little bit lucky to win. And we fortunately got the RNG. Lando and Zapdos. Alright, that's a classic. Going way back to 2012, 2013. Okay, I feel like this is okay for us. I mean, what's really interesting here is my ability to just Dynamax Helping Hand, Wormwind, or Phantasm turn 1. The only thing I worry about here is Zapdos Dynamaxing and Max Airstreaming. That's going to do a lot of damage. Sorry, it does damage, and more importantly, it gives my opponent the speed boost. Because we want to outpace our opponent, ideally. I wonder if Helping Hand Max Airstream actually KOs Landorus. Because if so, I think that's our play here. I can also protect turn 1. I'm down to Helping Hand Airstream, though. The main reason I led Clef was just to protect the Dragapult from opposing Dragapult. Also, if we get rid of Landorus, that paves the way for Regieleki. So, I don't know if Helping Hand Airstream KOs. Even if it doesn't, I mean, what's the worst case here? Earthquake, Max Airstream? Like, that doesn't KO Dragapult, especially with Friend Guard. So, this is why Clefairy is just such a good partner for the Dragapult. I was using Immunity with the Dragon Dance set earlier, but this is like another way you can run super offensive Dragapult in this format. So, I expect the Zapdos to max, mainly because if you're going up against Dragapult, you have to worry about Max Wormwinds decreasing your attack, but maybe they Dynamax the Landorus. Okay, yeah. So that's good. That was what we wanted to see, I think. I just don't know if Life Orb Helping Hand Max Airstream KOs Landorus. I would think so, but it also could be Sash Lando. That could be bad. I wanted a Phantasm for a defense drop here onto the Zapdos. Okay, they're not Scarf, which is good. So we get the Airstream off. Nice. Okay, perfect. So this speed boost just ensures that we continue to outpace the Zapdos, and I think that's really important. Because if my opponent Airstreams here, which I think they should, then they would outspeed us if we didn't go for an Airstream. Yep. So they go for their Max Airstream into Dragapult. Perfect. And look at how good Friend Guard is here for us. We don't even fall under 50%. That's also one of the reasons why, like, the thing about Clefairy, it kind of reminds me of Weezing on, like, Weezing Regigigas, where if your opponent calls the Protect, then, like, not only do they get a lot of damage off, but then the next turn they can just target the Clefairy or the Weezing, right? But because we didn't protect there, now we're in a really good spot, because this next turn I have the opportunity to protect. I didn't even go for a safe follow me, which is pretty good. And Zapdos is not a very scary late-game win con from my opponent's end. It won't do that much damage into my Regieleki. Urshifu has Focus Sash, so I could Wicked Blow it. So, those are all good things for us. They bring in Kartana, and I think it's time to show off why Max Flare is a thing here. So, I'm down to just go Max Flare and protect this turn. I think Zapdos is at not that much of an offensive threat right now. And, I just... Let's see. Okay, we get the Max Flare off. Normally, Kartanas are AV, so this one might be sashed. Beautiful. This Protect was relatively obvious on Clefairy's end. Maybe something like a Follow Me would have been a little safer, but I'll take that. That is why you run Max Flare Dragapult. And if you're looking for a way to beat Kartana, there's one. Okay, so they do just Airstream into Dragapult again. The thing is, I don't even mind that too much because, like, yeah, you outpace us now, but with Clef not having taken any damage, like, what was Clef going to do there, right? Dazzling Gleam at best. I don't really need to go for that. Now the only fear here is if you actually have Dazzling Gleam. But with Friend Guard being up, I actually don't even think you'd KO, to be honest. Because what I want to do here is just Phantasm into the... Actually, I want a Helping Hand Phantasm, but I think my opponent should Airstream. I'm going to Phantasm and Follow Me here. Because this is a Regieleki endgame at this point, just by clicking Electro Web. Okay, so we get the Follow Me off. Let's see if they have Dazzle. If not, then... Okay, yeah, they go for the Airstream. That's not surprising. Curious on the item on Zapdos. It's not Life Orb, so my best bet is a Citrus Berry. I think that is pretty standard. Would make a lot of sense in the context of this matchup as well. Their Fini's not very fast, actually, so we still outspeed. Oh, sorry, that's because we had the speed boost initially, right? So, good damage from the Phantasm. Actually, because of that, I misplayed that. I think I could have just... Well, no. Airstream might have just KO'd the Dragapult. It looks like it would have been a KO. Yeah, so... Calm Mind? Whoa, Taunt. Okay. That's cool. That's a very good move, actually. Taunt, 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 taunt. Okay, but I just wait for the switching into Regieleki, I think. Yeah. See, Phantom Force. I think what I don't want to do, honestly, is switch out right now. Like, I'm down to just Dazzling Gleam here, because I don't want Regieleki or Urshifu to take damage here, because I think that's our late-game win condition. Okay, so they go for Hurricane. They are going to connect. But that's fine, because, like, I think now I just get the switch into Regieleki. It's Moonblast. We should survive this. And this is the nice thing about having an attack on Clefairy, right? Nice. No special attack drop. Nice. Might activate a Berry on the Fini here, though. Crit the Zapdos. Okay, Fini survives, which is good, because now it's Regieleki time. I just wonder if you have Heat Wave here on the Zapdos. That might hurt, but... with Friend Guard being up, I actually don't think it's much of a problem. I think the play here is to just Electro Web and go for a Follow Me. Oh, wait, I can't Follow Me here. I'm pretty sure we outspeed Fini. So I don't think... Like, that means we should just pick up the KO. Especially if you're Taunt Fini. I don't know. I feel like if you're Taunt Fini, you're going to be bulkier. Less offensive, which means you're less inclined to run speed investment. Okay, so they protect Fini there. That's a good play. So you have Protect, Taunt, probably... And they do have Heat Wave. Let's see if this is a 2-hit KO, because if so... Okay, it's not good. I was going to say, if so, then things actually become problematic there. But fortunately enough, it's not. Oh my goodness. That was a lot of damage. I could have maybe Thunderbolted to play it safe. They're not Citrus, it looks like, on Zapdos. That's also interesting. I have to say, I actually would not have expected that. Okay. One more turn of Sun. They are +2 speed. +1 speed. Yeah, I think it's just Electro Web Dazzle here. Okay, they just go for Heat Wave. Nice. Regieleki hangs on. I think we should outspeed Tapu Fini here. Perfect. See? Like, this is the thing that Choice Specs Regieleki can do. Like, I can just spam Electro Web, not only lower my opponent's Pokemon speed, but also just KO them. The Max Flare really was huge for us in this game, but I think ultimately... This was a game we had control for the most part. The only scary thing there in the end is that Heat Wave being so close to a 2-hit KO was kind of scary. In that scenario, I could have... Like, I also have a slight risk of missing Electro Web, which is scary. So I could have maybe just gone for, like, Helping Hand Thunderbolt into Zapdos instead. Why didn't I go for that? If Zapdos protects, Clefairy Moonblasts and gets a special attack drop, that could be pretty scary. But maybe in that position it would have been better to T-Ball. I just like Electro Web there because it covers every option that my opponent has. And yes, there's a very, very slight risk of missing, but I think in a late game position like that, it might be worth it. Oh, wow, this is a cool team. Celesteela, Excadrill, T-Tar. Whimsicott, Urshifu, Milotic. Okay, so another Tailwind team. That's not good. Celesteela may be a problem here as well. Tailwind plus Sand, okay. The thing is, if you don't have a fire type, if you don't have Flamethrower on Celesteela, Kartana looks so good here. But what are the odds you don't have Flamethrower on Celesteela? Probably pretty slim. Clef. I don't like leading pull. I don't even like maxing too much on turn 1 here, to be honest. What does my opponent lead? What if they just go Tyranitar or Excadrill? That may be a problem. It could be. Or otherwise, if it's not T-Tar Excadrill, what it would be? Whimsicott plus Excadrill, Whimsicott plus Urshifu. I feel like they should bring Celesteela. I want Urshifu, I want Fini, I want Kartana, I want Regieleki, I want everybody. Actually, I think we need Regieleki just for the Celesteela. That alone. Regieleki... Okay, I kind of want to try this out. Regieleki, Fini, Urshifu, Kartana. The reason I don't like Clefairy very much here is because I'm going up against 2 Steel types and a potential taunt for Whimsicott. But I feel like against non-Tailwind teams, we typically have a pretty good matchup because we either just overwhelm them and outspeed them, or we deny, like against Trick Room teams, we can probably deny the Trick Room because of the amount of offense that we have. Okay, it's Whimsicott, Urshifu. Clef Pull would have been pretty good here, but I think Regieleki Fini is also decent. Although I think here it's most likely going to just be a Tailwind Wicked Blow into Regieleki, which actually probably KOs us, right? Who did I bring in the back? These aren't the best to have in the back. Like an Urshifu lead would have been better here, probably. Oh man, I feel like I can't just give out my Regieleki though, turn 1. I might have to be a switch into Urshifu. As much as I hate that. If I switch here and call mine turn 1, that doesn't seem awful. Oh, only one of these 2 Pokemon can be sashed, actually, which is also interesting. Okay, I'm down to switch and just Moonblast Urshifu turn 1. I think I need Regieleki for the late game, because I think if Celesteela's in the back, we hard lose to it. That's just the amount of... Oh, but they switch. Is that Tyranitar coming in? Oh, wow. I may have just procced a weakness policy. That was a really big-brained play. I didn't think about that. Breaks my Sash as well. They Tailwind. Okay. I'm assuming it's policy here. Oh. Should I have Volt Switched? I don't think so. I mean, that's really good damage onto T-Tar, but I think it's going to be a policy here. Yeah, what a great switch in. Wow. I got Omega baited there. Really good switch. Okay. So what do I want to do now? Probably just going to be Moonblast and Urshifu. I mean, this double protect here is decently safe, but... Geez, this Tyranitar just exerts so much offensive pressure. So maybe it's... We Dynamax Kartana, I think. Yeah, I mean, Tyranitar, like, Max Knuckle, even at +2, shouldn't do that much into Kartana Dynamax. So, I'm content to double protect this turn, but he can position off me playing passively by switching out Whimsicott. But Whimsicott stays in, which I guess is okay for us. Like, that's better than it switching out. That was a great switch in, though. Man, I maybe should have thought about that a little bit more. That's a really good example of how, like, my opponent had a better lead than me and then also executed that turn 1 better. They didn't just fall into the trap of attacking into my switch in there. They're like, I have the momentum, let me push it even further. And I think that was really, really smart. I can at least stall to turn a Dynamax here, so that's good. And stall out another turn of Tailwind. Because I think right now, based off what my opponent has, Kartana looks really good. Okay, it's just Moonblast. Probably Rockfall, right? Yeah. Man, this is going to do so much, though. I mean, do I Dynamax Fini? Is that a possibility? I don't even have a switch in here, which sucks. Okay, but maybe I say... Because Fini's really good against Urshifu. It's actually really good against the entire team. Celesteela is the only concern here, right? So I could give up Regieleki. Because Regieleki does not feel that important to me right now. I could double switch here, but the thing is I really feel like I need Kartana at full HP when it comes in. How many turns of Tailwind are left? 2, I believe. Yes. I could go for a double protect here, actually. That actually I think is the best play. And I'm going to sack Regieleki. Because if I get it, that's huge. Because Urshifu late game is pretty good from our end. This is kind of a desperate double protect, but I also just think I don't have a better play to go for right now. But I don't get it, which is fine. Even if I lose both Pokemon here, I think it's still winnable. Because this might be a Kartana late game. But the Tyranitar switch in turn 1 was just super, super big brain. It was not a play considered. And oh, and they knuckle there too. What a read! Well done. That's a big problem. Because now I don't know if my Kartana can handle it. It's a lot of pressure. I think the way we win this is maybe I make the read that my opponent just goes for another Knuckle onto Kartana. We survive and hope to pick up a double KO. Actually, yeah, I think this is what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go all in on this next turn because I think my opponent has made some really, really good reads. And those are reads that I have no shame losing to. I think that it was just really immaculate play from my opponent's end. Last turn or Tailwind. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to go all in, hope to survive the Knuckle, and I'm going to Dynamax and also Airstream here. Not only does that KO Whimsicott, but it also means that Tapu Fini outspeeds my opponent's team in the next subsequent turns. I guess I could have protected Tapu Fini here as well. Actually, maybe that's the move. What does Calm Minding accomplish for us? What a switch, too. Wow. Celesteela? He brought the perfect 4 Pokemon, too. Really well played. This was a tough one. This is a good example of how important team preview is, because my decision to lead the Regieleki really, really, really punished me, and I shouldn't have let it, because Tailwind plus an offensive sweeper just destroyed it. I think Regieleki was probably fine to have, but in the back. So if I were to re-lead this, oh wow, we're still faster than Tyranitar. Okay, wait. I actually didn't think about that possibility. Because then I have to wonder if Max Steel Spike could have KO'd. Huh. Well, if they go for Max Knuckle onto the Kartana, there's still a chance, but I think given that Celesteela is coming out right now, it is going to be a Rockfall into the Tapu Fini, because I think Celesteela will have Flamethrower to 1v1 the Kartana here. Let's see. Okay, they go for a Knuckle, though. This gives us a very slight chance, actually, of winning now. Never mind. That just one-shot us. Holy cow. Okay, we still would have maybe had a shot, though, if we went just Steel Spike into the Tyranitar there. I actually thought we would survive the Knuckle, to be honest, but maybe that's because I was thinking of +2 Knuckle instead of +3. Really, really well played on my opponent's end. I'm actually really curious about that damage calc, so let's do that real quick. Kartana, Dynamax, we don't really have any bulk. They're at +3 attack. Max Knuckle. Oh, Adamant? Wait, how did that one-shot? Oh, okay. If you're Adamant, you have a 37.5% chance of OHKOing. I actually think our play was right there then, because I need to take that damage roll. If we survive, like, Tapu Fini plus Kartana maybe has a shot in the late game. It's very small. It's very slim, but I needed to lead better in this game. Whimsicott, Urshifu, like, Tailwind's already kind of a tough matchup here, and my opponent played it, like, perfectly. I don't think they made a single misplay in this match either. Every play was super, super good on their end. And it's like they were making plays, like, in positions where they were already hit just to get even further ahead. We do dodge a Leech Seed, though. I mean, Fini... I'm not going to count Fini out quite yet. I mean, we don't have really great recovery here, but I think if for example, if the Urshifu in the back isn't focus hashed. I mean, Fini could actually 4v1 here. This is why I needed to, like, survive a turn with Kartana, though. But I think it was the correct decision to Dynamax. Now that I know a +3 max. Like, the max Knuckle was the real play there. The turn that they read the Fini switch out, because if I just stayed in there, I do a lot of damage, and I don't lose Regieleki either. Alright, that's an accuracy drop. They get Leaf Seed. Yeah, I think I'm just going to forfeit here. I mean, you can just Tailwind, bring in Tyranitar, and Fini can't really outstall this. So I think Tailwind's already kind of a tricky matchup for this team, and I need to lead better into it because the Regieleki was not it in this game. And that's one of the problems with Regieleki, right? It is a really good Pokemon, but Tailwind means that your opponent can outpace you. So how would I beat the Whimsicott Urshifu lead with what I have? I think it's probably to go with my own Urshifu and the Tapu Fini, because then that just exerts so much offensive pressure. And if you look at my opponent's team, that does a lot of damage. That does damage into everything. So I think if I were to replay this, I would lead Fini, Urshifu, Regieleki, and the back Kartana as the last one. Pokemon choice was fine, but this is a good example of how just leading Regieleki against Tailwind put me in a really, really big disadvantage. Granted, I actually think Clefairy maybe could have worked. Like, Clefairy Pult here, where I just follow me Airstream turn 1. I was honestly expecting Excadrill or the Celesteela lead. But if I'm expecting those, I don't think leading Regieleki makes much sense either. So, I think if I were to... I mean, now that I know, if I'm going up against Tailwind, I just don't think Regieleki makes any sense. And quite frankly, now I'm reflecting on it, like, why did I lead that? It doesn't make much sense, because I think Whimsicott's always coming out as a lead. So that goes to show how much turn 1 can matter, or before you even start the game, turn 1 can matter, right, in terms of team preview. So I did not choose my best optimal lead. That really punished me, and my opponent played so well and like capitalized and punished me every turn as well. So that's why team preview is a really important element to the game, and you know, no one ever gets team preview right, like 100% of the time. That's why you practice, and that's why you learn, right? Like, my main takeaway from that last game is, like, if I'm going up against Tailwind plus a big offensive attacker that can just one-shot Regieleki is really bad for us, because I also don't have great defensive switch-in. So, against Tailwind in the future with this team, or if you're playing with this team, I would highly recommend not leading Regieleki, unless you think your opponent's going to lead something really, really passive next to the Tailwind user. So, that's something I should have thought about a little bit more going into the match, but, you know, good lesson to take away from it, I would say, and overall, I think... You know, we had the tools to win that one, but it needed to start from team preview. Because the reality is, for tough matchups, actually kind of similar to that first one against Tornadus Metagross, like, Tailwind's already probably a little scary to go up against for this team, so you really need to have at least, like, go head-to-head with your opponent in the early game, because if they outlead you and they have a better team matchup, not just with this team, but in general in Pokemon, starting from that far behind is going to really, really be a detriment to you. So that is why team preview is especially important in matchups where... you know, like, you feel like your team overall doesn't fare as well, based off, you know, the different types of speed control or just the Pokemon that both players have. But yeah, I just reflecting and making that point, not to make an excuse or anything, because I think sometimes people can be like, oh yeah, like, you know, bad matchup, team matchup is an excuse. I mean, to an extent, I guess, but what I'm trying to get at here is that, like, even bad matchups, you can play around them if you play smart from the start, but I didn't do a great job with team preview here. So, yeah. But I think that was a really fun set of games, and it could show you how good Electro Web Regieleki could be, right? Electro Web Regieleki. Like, it carried us in game 1 and 2, basically. So, very, very huge threat in the metagame, especially with that choice specs. So, yeah. Thanks as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to let me know don't forget to answer the question of the day. Let me know what your favorite Electric-type Pokemon is, and I'll see you guys next time. All right. Peace.